After a bit of a hiatus, welcome on back to the Goonery. Brandon and I here. Post Memorial Day weekend. I'm officially going to say it. We are in the dog days of summer, and it is not even June, but our baseball teams are, I'm going to say, close to finished, Brandon. It has not been pretty. Your Cardinals 24-32 at the time of recording this. My White Sox had 22-34. Two teams that had playoff aspirations. Obviously, it's still early. Things aren't completely dead yet, but Memorial Day is kind of when you get a sense of what to expect from your team, in my opinion, what you expect the front office to do. And it's going to be a long summer.
So I'm going to push back on just something because I don't know if anybody's really aware of how the NL Central looks right now, but it's an absolute dumpster fire.
I mean, yeah.
And at this moment, at 24-32, the Cardinals are still 5.5 games out. So crazy enough, the Cardinals are still in it. But, it can be easy for me to go as the spoiled Cardinal fan that I am and just rag on the team, who had one of the worst, which, people have been saying that was the worst offensive performance they put up against the lowly Royals yesterday. Almost got hit with a perfect game with the guy in his very first start as a Cardinal gave up 8 runs in the first inning. So that it doesn't get much lower than that. But here I'm going to be a sensible fan for once in my life, and I'm going to say this. I want to ask you a question, Ben. When do you think the last off day for the Cardinals was?
Okay, so just since you're posing this question, I'm going to guess it's been about 9 days.
The St. Louis Cardinals have played a game every day. You know what their last off day was? May 1st. May Woo! 1st, which is why after this Royal Series, they had 2 days off. But I don't even want to come at the Cardinals because as a professional athlete, which I know nothing of being, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
You got to be spent after playing a month worth of games where you went through gauntlets early in the month, taking on the Cubs, going to Wrigley, taking on the Brewers, taking on the Dodgers. And then when you get to a series like the Reds, the Guardians, the Royals, you're spent. The team is dead at this point. They're dead. So I want to know what's the scheduling? Why is the scheduling like this for MLB? It always seems to be some weird nonsense that's going on where this shouldn't even be a thing. This schedule is absolutely sinister for the Cardinals to go through. And you can't even, as a fan, of course you're going to get upset because after that Dodgers series where we took 3 out of 1, you're like, we're right there. Mm-hmm. We are right there. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, once everything comes together, once maybe Contreras is catching every day, the pitcher staff is going to catch on. That has not been the case. And it is simply because this team is taxed. And it is, and that's the reality. I know people are not going to want to hear that because we're Cardinal fans. All we're used to is winning. Mm-hmm. But we really have to see what's going to happen after these 2 off days. And if it's the same thing, then yeah, the season might be over. But for right now, I'm going to say the season is not over. And this is coming from somebody who in April was saying the season is over. But we have to wait.
No, that's a fair assessment. I had not realized that stretch had been as brutal as it had been for them. I mean, a whole month without a day off is, it's bullshit, if we're being honest, because that just becomes what's the word? It's unrealistic that your bullpen is going to last there. I mean, your arms are going to be dead. You're going to be rolling into June. Oh, you have 2 days off. Big fucking whoop. Yeah. Your bullpen's dead. I mean, your starters are having less time to recover too, if you really want to look at it like that. And you had mentioned Wilson Contreras. There's been a lot of talk about Wilson Contreras this year so far across the league. And I've seen a lot that there's potential for him to move to the outfield permanently or potentially just alternate between the outfield and DH. There's no doubt that he's a special hitter. He's an athletic freak. He can very easily convert to being an everyday outfielder, in my opinion. But how do you feel about that after giving him that big of a contract that we are only into the end of May and people are already throwing that out there? Because he's not comfortable calling a game like the Cardinal staff was used to. And that's something the Cardinals should have known. Making the move from Yachty to Wilson Contreras, I mean, that's like going to a different universe. It's just uncharted territory. And I don't want to blame the Cardinals for bringing in Contreras to replace Yachty. He was the best option on the free agent market. They replaced what was going to be probably the biggest glaring hole on that team. And now they're obviously not back to square one, but they're in a very weird spot.
So to answer your initial question, it's bullshit. I'm just going to say that just flat out. And here's the reason why. I don't know if you've seen a clip of top prospect Jordan Walker talking about the adjustments that the Cardinals wanted him to do. They want him to just hit the ball in the air, which I never understood the concept. And granted, this is all coaching, so obviously it's completely different. But why have your top prospect deviate from what he was doing that had him make a jump from double A to the major leagues in one spring training? It makes zero sense. So you have him in Memphis right now, just trying to find himself since you broke him. You broke his confidence. But you think the solution to that would be to put Wilson Contreras in the outfield. Now, this team came into the season with a logjam in the outfield, and they did absolutely they made no moves. They made no moves to even fix it, because Dylan Carlson could maybe play every day in an outfield just because of his defense. He's an average hitter. Tyler O'Neill is a guy who's very hit and miss, but you know what you can get from him from defense. Lars Newbar is an everyday outfielder. He's what I call a ball player. He's simply a ball player. So, and then you have the Alec Burlesons, you have the Juan Yepez's of the world that's filling in for O'Neill and Carlson and Walker for when he eventually does get back up. But it's just like, this issue could have been handled if somebody would have been traded. Now, I know at this moment in time, it's looking like O'Neill's going to be the odd guy out, because he just seems to be a guy that you hear every offseason. He's making these type of strides. He's going to revert back to his 2021 season where he was probably an MVP candidate and the most reliable hitter on the Cardinals outside of Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. And it just hasn't materialized that way. You just wonder, like, what has happened where he just not putting up the power numbers that he is supposed to. So this season has poked so many holes in the Cardinals front office to where you just think about it and you're like, man, did Yadier Molina leaving that organization really, really put a damper on that entire organization? Was his input that was that, potent to where they can't function correctly? And it's one of those things where you're conflicted as a fan, because you want to see your baseball team win every single season, even when you know they don't have a chance of winning. But what if the Cardinals have their first losing season since 2007, and it could be the best thing possible because they could fall on their face? I think a lot of fans are going to reach that mindset, considering simply we don't know, even if a run is made, how good this team is and how far they could go if that run is made. So as a Cardinals fan, you're conflicted right now. You just don't know what to think about this team. They're very high and cold, and you just don't know if through a stretch of the season where, they get high and, get into first place, can they hold on to a number one? And if they do get into the playoffs, is it going to be like the past 3 years where they've done absolutely nothing?
God, first losing season since 2007.
It's crazy.
The things that I would give for that. The things that I would give for that. But it is just frustrating watching. I mean, I can speak from this too, with the White Sox being in the AL Central and that being quite possibly a worse division than the NL Central, which is insane. But just watching how terrible these divisions are for these two teams, seeing it's right there. It is right there, despite how bad they're playing. And arguably, not even arguably, I would say that pretty confidently, the Cardinals are the most talented team in that division.
I agree.
On paper, they are the most talented team in that division, and that's what's frustrating. And it's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks because, yes, they're in last place in the division, right? But they're only
They're
five.
in fourth place.
Fourth? Okay.
Yeah.
But they're only, what'd you say, 4 games out?
5.5.
5.5. You're still right there within striking distance. 5-5 in their last 10. No days off. The Cubs are going to fall off. We know the Pirates are going to fall off. Who the hell knows what's going to happen with the Rays? And I still don't believe in the Brewers. Quite frankly, I don't. It's if you obviously, other than the schedule and the logjam that there's been created in the outfield for the Cardinals, what is, if you could step in right now as general manager of the Cardinals and make a change that you think will propel this team forward? I think I know what your answer is going to be here. What's the number one thing you're changing about this roster right now?
I'm getting 2 starting pitchers.
Yep.
2 starting pitchers because I don't know if you've been keeping track. Steven Matz is an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Absolute dumpster fire. And I think one of the things that I was concerned about in the offseason, actually, no, not even in the offseason, but in the World Baseball Classic, Adam Wainwright can't even touch 90 miles per hour anymore.
No, it's sad.
And here's the thing. Is he a bad pitcher? No. He's actually working well with what he has. But can you rely on that for the rest of the season? My answer is no.
What is he, 41 years old and been in the league for God knows how many years, and
since 2006.
It just his shit, he just doesn't have it anymore. And it comes to a point where you hang up. It's a Hall of Fame career.
Yep.
He will be in Cooperstown. There's no doubt about that. It's just a 6.1 ERA is not going to play.
Yeah. And the thing is too, they're starting pitching outside of Matz and Wainwright isn't bad. Jack Flaherty is a guy who'll scare you because he'll walk the world, but he could also strike out
every
7 or 8 on his best night.
Yep.
And then you have Miles Michaelis, who's extremely solid, and Matthew Liberatore seems to be a guy that has finally found his niche. So if you, let's say the Guardians are out of contention, Shane Bieber becomes available, you can always bark up that tree. But it would have been beautiful if Pablo Lopez would have been the guy in the offseason if he would have traded one of the outfielders. But I don't ever want to take what this man says seriously, because I think he's a liar, and he's a guy who just spits in the face of every Cardinal fan. But John Mozeliak did say starting pitching was going to be a priority during the trade deadline. But it gets to a point where, once you get past the London series, you got the Yankees and the Astros waiting for you. What's it really going to be? Are you going to be sellers or going to be buyers? Yeah. And the thing is, if you would have asked me that question after losing 2 out of 3 to the Astros, losing 2 out of 3 to the Yankees, or even get swept by either one of those teams, what I would say is you stand pat, you don't do anything, you retool. That's all you can do, because I don't think this is a team that should be in the midst of a rebuild. They are not a bad team. They have prospects that could come up with already with key pieces that they could build around. However, what really needs to be assessed, managerial position, the pitching coach, batting coach, and again, I've been saying this, and it's almost as if it's become a myth just in the span of one season. But this whole Cardinal way stuff, what has it really gotten? Everyone in the media always talks about the Cardinal way, and the Cardinal way has garnered 1 championship since 2010. If we're gonna put that label like that, you got to be winners. They haven't been winners. They've gotten embarrassed in every postseason series they've got into since 2019. So I don't know what about this status quo, what this team is appealing and is going to be appealing enough for free agents who's looking at this dumpster fire, and it's like, do I really want to sign here? I don't think so.
Yeah, and You mentioned the word retool. Retooling is the biggest way to be mired in mediocrity for any franchise, in my opinion. I've heard it year after year after year, whether it's with the White Sox, whether it's with the Bulls, whether it's with the Blackhawks, whether hell, we can even say with the Bears a little bit. And it's just, yep. Yep. And it's just the word retool. It means you know what you have going on is not going to fucking work. So why are you delaying the inevitable any more than you need to? And that is where it's been with the White Sox. God knows how many times. I can't even count on, in the last 15 years, I could probably, off the top of my head, think of 5 years where the Sox went into the offseason and retooled, and they do that by signing a post-PED suspension Melky Cabrera, or signing Adam LaRoche, Jimmy Rollins. I mean, we could just go on and on with over the hill.
Rollins was a White Sox. Wow.
Played shortstop until Tim Anderson made his major league debut in 2016. It's just, you get to the point where you need to rebuild. Now, I'm not saying that's what the Cardinals need to do, but I would be cautious as the Cardinals this year. I don't think they're at a point where they need to blow it up this year. I think the talent is there. You cannot argue that that they do not have talent on paper, but if they don't make the playoffs this year, you blow it up in the offseason. I genuinely, all right, they're in a tough spot because they have a lot of young talent coming in the pipeline. They have well-established talent. So it's not necessarily a full-blown retool if you're the Cardinals, but a retool would be a mistake for a team like the White Sox, but we could get into that later on.
Mm-hmm.
Another name that I think is kind of interesting for the Cardinals, though, because another team that I think is posers, the Detroit Tigers, Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I know he's on the IL right now with whatever finger injury he had. I don't even, whatever it is, but I know the Tigers are in second place in the AL Central right now, but it's a dumpster fire of a division. I mean, so what? The Tigers are in second place, and they're still a few years out, in my opinion. So that's a name that makes a lot of sense to me. He's been lights out this year. He's been incredible. I mean, 11 starts, 6 quality starts. He's got a ERA of 2.1. I mean, he in a whip of under 1. So, I mean,
already an upgrade over Jordan Montgomery.
Yep. So I agree with you. The Cardinals do need to address starting pitching. There's no doubt about it. And if we're being honest, White Sox might have a few guys who could help out with that. If we really want we really want to get into it. Lucas Giolito. Obviously, last year he sucked. Year before that, he was pretty good. Year before that, he was even better. And then if we go all the way back to 2018, there's the commercials. Lucas Giolito, you don't know these. Local White Sox broadcast, there is a guaranteed rate, which the White Sox, that's naming rights to their stadium. There's a Lucas Giolito, 2019, worst pitcher in baseball. And then it's just like, it talks about whatever. It's drilled into my brain. Giolito is back. He's been having a pretty damn good year. And the White Sox have made it clear, supposedly, and it's well known across the league. So the Sox have zero leverage in the trade market, that they're not going to be extending him. They're not going to be re-signing him, not going to be offering him a qualifying offer. So teams are really going to be able to do whatever the fuck they want with the Sox when they inevitably trade Giolito at the deadline this year. That's a guy who, I know the playoff experience isn't necessarily there. I mean, I think he probably, off the top of my head, 2 playoff starts, I believe. But that's a guy who can step into that rotation for the Cardinals and help immediately and not cost a ton.
He's best friends with Jack Flaherty, correct?
Went to the same high school.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Seamless.
Went to the same high school, and their pitching coach, none other than the White Sox current pitching coach, Ethan Katz.
Wow.
So also produced, I believe, Max Fried. I believe.
Yes, it was Max Fried.
From the same rotation in high school, which
that's just
imagine being 16, 17 years old, sitting in algebra 2 one day, and then you realize, oh shit, I have to pick the Lucas Giolito start. And then what do you know? Jeff Flaherty comes out of the pen, or Fried comes out of the pen. I mean, it's just God. But I personally think the White Sox are going to completely blow it up. And rightfully so. It's not working. It's not working. And I am tired of being force-fed bullshit from White Sox media, White Sox front office. Rick Hahn, the White Sox general manager, came out with a statement. He always does a media scrum at the start of every home series. And before the first game of the series against the Angels yesterday at home, someone asked him, what do you think after Memorial Day? Team's obviously 12 games under. What are you thinking? Blah, blah, blah. He said, well, along the lines of, with the current state of the division, our guys just aren't playing up to their potential. I think we still have a lot of time to evaluate what we want to do with the future of this team. And you're not necessarily wrong. The Sox are 12 games under, and I believe they're 7 games out of first place right now. 12 games under and 7 games out of first place. I mean, it's brutal, but you have to look at it from the perspective. White Sox, historically a very cheap franchise, do not like to spend big money. They are one of 3 MLB franchises who have yet to give out a $100 million contract.
Ooh.
The largest contract they have ever given out was to Andrew Benintendi this offseason for 5 years, $75 million. It is, at the day we are recording this, is it May 30th, I believe? Andrew Benintendi, I know he's not a home run hitter. You give a guy $75 million in Major League Baseball in 2023, he better be able to hit a few home runs. 0 home runs. 0 home runs. The outfield defense hasn't been great. It's been okay. He's been getting on base at a good clip, so he can't complain. But you're at a crossroads, because Rick Hahn knows if he blows it up and trades everyone, he doesn't have a job. He shouldn't have had a job after last year. I mean, he shouldn't. I mean, I know his hands were tied with the Tony La Russa thing, but I think it's abundantly clear now at this point, the issues can't be blamed on Tony anymore.
Yeah,
it really can. It comes down to player development within the White Sox system and within the franchise. They had, off the top of my head, in this starting lineup, I believe they had, I think, 6 top 100 guys on the offensive side and 3 top 100 prospects within the pitching rotation, and they just haven't lived up to their potential. That's all it comes down to. It's haven't lived up to potential, can't stay healthy. I mean, you've already seen Yohan Moncada go on the IL this year. You've seen Eloy Jimenez go on the IL this year. It's pitchers can't stay healthy. They can't stay consistent. Dylan Cease, arguably the best pitcher in baseball last year. You could really make an argument for that. He was the most dominant pitcher in baseball last year, and he looks like a shell of himself. He looks like Dylan Cease of old. He's walking guys again. He's getting rattled. Michael Kopech, the most up and down pitcher in all of baseball. He went, I believe it was 14 1/3 scoreless with 3 hits in his previous 2 starts. What's he do last night? Gives up 3 runs in the first inning against the Angels at home, and then strikes out 10 in 5 innings. There is no consistency with this team, and it goes beyond the pitching. You look at Luis Robert 2 weeks ago, looked like arguably the most dominant hitter in baseball for a 2-week stretch. Yet I believe 8 home runs in 2 weeks, hitting about 360, 370, getting on base at an over 400 clip. And now he has been on Pitching Ninja, I think 3 times in the past couple of days for shitty swings and swords, just because he looks completely lost at the plate. There is just no balance. And I know I'm saying this as the Sox are up 6-3 against the Angels right now. They're hitting the ball tonight. They're taking advantage of it. But guess what? They only do this against fucking lefties. It's just very aggravating after being promised as Rick Hahn put it, sustained success. Well, guess what? The White Sox sustained success ended with one division championship in 2021, and arguably my least favorite White Sox of all time, Leury Garcia hitting a 3-run homer to tie up a playoff game at home. And that was the peak of the rebuild. The peak of the White Sox rebuild was a Leury Garcia home run at home.
It was electric.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
It was electric.
Favorite sports moment I've ever experienced in person. But it was the peak. You could argue Tim Anderson's walk-off home run at Field of Dreams was the peak of the rebuild, where people where people were like, wow, this White Sox team is fun. They're here. They're going to make some noise. And what do you know? They've curled up in no ball and just haven't done shit since. And I'm past the point of blaming Rick Hahn, and it's on the player development, because when he's healthy, don't get me wrong, Eloy Jimenez has been a great hitter. The power numbers have not been there. Luis Robert, when he's on, he's as good as anybody in baseball. He really is. They still don't have a real right fielder. I mean, Eloy Jimenez is playing right field when we went out and signed Benintendi to play left field because we wanted Eloy out of the outfield. So now Eloy's just playing right field almost every day the last week. So that makes sense. Tim Anderson. I love TA, but he will be a LA Dodger by the deadline. That is my prediction. He will not, the face of the franchise will not be a Chicago White Sox by the end of this summer.
And he might be single by October too, but I won't go.
Oh,
there.
we could. That's a whole nother can of worms. That I don't. That might explain why the play on the field has declined a little bit. If any of you listening aren't aware of what we're talking about, you could go do that research yourself.
Yeah.
And then, as for the rest of the Sox, Yoan Moncada, another guy, can't stay healthy, hasn't lived up to potential. 2019 got MVP votes. Since then, he has been dog water. And then you have Andrew Vaughn, the 3rd overall pick in the draft a few years ago, Golden Spikes winner out of Cal, 5'10" first baseman, right-handed. Yeah, I think he's listed at 5'11", which means he's probably about 5'8", 5'9". But you can excuse his performance the last couple of years, I think, in my opinion, just because he was rushed up. He was playing out of position because Eloy hurt himself, playing a position he's never played before in the outfield. He had, the last time I checked, he had over whatever it's been, 2.5 years of service time. I don't know. Exactly a 0.0 WAR.
So he's just out there burning calories.
He's burning calories. And don't get me wrong. He was never promised to be a guy who's going to hit 30, 40 bombs at first base. I understand that. He was a guy who's going to hit gaps. He's going to get doubles. And he has been hitting the ball relatively well this year, and he's getting on base at a decent clip. But when the power numbers across the board on this team are so low, you can't have your first baseman not hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds so incredibly meathead.
It's true.
But it's true.
It's true.
It's one of, I would say, 4 positions that you're expected to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not doing it at the consistent rate that you should be, the defense hasn't been great at first base this year. When it just, I think him and Spencer Torkelson from that same draft are going to be cautionary tales for teams moving forward with early selections. Yeah, they might be able to hit the shit out of the ball in college, but that might not translate, and especially when they're playing I'm going to argue, a non-premier position in first base. It's just ugly, man. It is ugly on the South Side, and if I had to guess right now, realistic players who will not be White Sox at the deadline, because if I was in charge, I would be trading players right now.
Right.
They would be gone. And I'm still getting, I do it to myself every game. It's a roller coaster of 162. They lose, trade everyone. What do you know? Oh, they won. They put up 9 runs and they only 9 runs and they won. Oh, shit, we were right back in the heart of this division race. What are we doing? Go out and trade for someone at the deadline. Very next day, they lose 12-3. And I'm back to ground zero. And I'm doing my best to not get too invested in this team because it's not fun to watch. There is no redeeming qualities for this team. They don't actually no, there is one redeeming quality. Let me give a quick shout out to Jake Berger. If you're not familiar with the Jake Berger story, he was the White Sox first round pick in 2016 out of Missouri State, third baseman. Another guy, corner infielder for the Sox. Hit the shit out of the ball in college. Couldn't field, but oh man, corner infielders, DH types. What else do the Sox need to develop? And he's hitting the ball really well in the minors. Ruptures his Achilles, right? Ruptures his Achilles. He has nowhere to go. And he's rehabbing the Achilles. What's he do while he's rehabbing the one ruptured Achilles? He ruptures his other Achilles. He was out of baseball for damn near 2.5 years. During the 2.5, 3 years because of that. During the COVID season, the White Sox did not put him on the taxi squad. He ended up playing in a college summer league at the approval of the White Sox because he just wanted to play baseball. He needed to get he needed to get back. Was up and down a little bit the next couple of years and did not start on the major league roster this year because the White Sox went out and got Hanser Alberto to be the utility infielder role. Well, Jake Berger's hitting, I believe, 260 with 10 home runs and about 30 RBIs for the Sox so far this year. And it's been one of the lone bright spots and has really forced the issue of do you trade Yohan Moncada? Are you moving Moncada back to second base? Are you trading Vaughn and putting Berger at first base? Like, just shout out to Jake Berger. That's all I want to say. If I could have 9 Jake Bergers on a baseball field, they might suck, but god damn it, I know that they're gonna try their goddamn hardest, and they're gonna be in every ball game. And but like as I'm watching this, Jake Berger just legged out an infield single. I have it on in the background. He just legged out an infield single. He's 6'2", 240. He should not be legging out ground balls.
Oh, absolutely not. He's a big boy.
First base. He, shockingly enough, he's in the 75th percentile in sprint speed in the MLB this year.
Yeah, everyone should be embarrassed for that.
Yeah. Yep. They should. Oof. But back to my point. Realistically, who I think will not be Chicago White Sox come the trade deadline? Tim Anderson, Lucas Giolito. I think Gavin Sheets is going to be gone. He's proved he can be a solid lefty bat off the bench, versatile at first base, DH. He can play a little bit of corner outfield if he has to, but I just don't see him having a place on this team. I hate to say it, Liam Hendriks, he will be gone. I realistically think Liam Hendriks will retire after this season. I really do. I just think that he wanted to have this comeback story, and shout out to him because god damn it, got a little dusty in my house last night after he made that stroll out to the mound after beating stage 4 leukemia and being back on the mound in the majors in 5 months. It blows my mind to this day that he's able to do that. But I think he'll be gone because the Sox are going to want to let him have one last run, and he deserves it. I would not be surprised to see Joe Kelly gone out of the bullpen, Kendall Graveman. I mean, bullpen arms, whatever. But as from the actual core, TA, Giolito, I'll say Sheets, and I'm going to say Moncada. I believe all 4 of those guys will be gone by the trade deadline this year. I don't know what you're going to get for them, and hell, might as well trade Dylan Cease too, because you know the Sox aren't going to re-sign him, and you could still get a haul for him.
You know, I've had a lot of venting sessions to my friends about my team and whatnot, but my friend said something that, as a Cardinals fan, it resonates. And it's that the season really, really, truly does start June 1st.
Yep.
And the thing about it is, as much venting, complaining, whatever anybody wants to call it, we're doing right now, the season for our teams is far from over. And granted, this is kind of me being insincere because I kind of see where this season is going. You absolutely know where this season is going. However, I think maybe when it's June 15th, June 28th, July 4th, we can have this discussion again and see where things are going. But it just sucks with baseball, considering, let's just say, if there is a massive climb from the White Sox, massive climb for the Cardinals, it just sucks that we got to be put through all this just to see competent baseball being taking place. So right now, it's hard to call anything. It really is, because you see the teams that are contending. The two teams from the NLCS last season are struggling, especially the Padres. The Padres are a mess. They are a mess. And then the Phillies, they just have no sense of consistency whatsoever. And there's just been a crap load of parity in the league right now, and a lot of teams that's just struggling to, get past that next step. But I think after June 1st, that's where the real conversations about certain teams have to start. If they don't kick it together, yeah, it's gonna get ugly. But we're gonna revisit this 1,000%.
So moving on from our therapy session here. Huge show for the WWE over Memorial Day weekend in Saudi Arabia. Night of Champions. Saw Seth Rollins crowned as the new world heavyweight champion, and absolutely the right call. I mean, there's no other person it should have been. And as you being the Seth Rollins guy on this show, Brandon, not that I don't like Seth Rollins, but you are the Seth Rollins guy. The floor is yours, and I would like to know where you would like to see this title run go.
So it's interesting because right now, Raw's star power, they have low-key a good amount of star power.
I would agree.
I think that the opponents for him they have a lot of range, because Finn Balor, Damian Priest, I mean, those are the two guys. I mean, you can even throw Dom in there, because he's someone that, I mean, even though he's not an established guy, when he's on TV, people look. And I don't know if it's because Rhea Ripley's by his side or what, but the eyes are always on him.
Let's real quick. Is there a more over heel other than Roman Reigns in the entire industry than Dominic Mysterio right now? Because I think it's no. I don't even think it. No, like I don't even think you can make the argument for MJF anymore.
No, you can't, because
I don't know. I don't even think it's go away heat at this point either.
And here's the thing too, because Dom might be one of those cases with Kurt Angle where they chanted "you suck" no matter whether he was a heel or a face. So he might have reached that point. And yeah, with MJF, he has to do the most to get that heat. Dominic don't gotta do anything. All you gotta do is grab a mic. They say no.
Dominic grabs a mic and he is put out of the building. And just considering where we were at with Dominic Mysterio, like a year or so ago at this point, to him now being one of the most over people in the entire industry, it blows my mind, man. It's crazy. It blows my mind.
It's crazy. But you got Bronson Reed, who I think is going to just destroy his potential. He's great.
The Rocket will be strapped to his back, I think, after this summer.
100%.
I do think it's just a weird spot, but once the summer is over, I think that's when that push is really going to begin for him.
100%. And then Matt Riddle, Seth Rollins, you want to revisit that? Sure. I don't hate that.
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura, I think, is a money match, and I hope he wins Money in the Bank, by the way, if it's not LA Knight. Cody Rhodes may be inevitable if he is not competing against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, which, by the way, we're going to touch on that because.
Yeah.
But the title range should definitely have a lot of range, because I think one of the lost arts about title reigns, especially, like outside of Roman Reigns is the anomaly for how long his title reign lasted. When you have a guy like Seth Rollins who is a workhorse and he's going to be defending his title, it's like, you want to see that. And the thing is too, I know Cody Rhodes is over on Raw, but I think there's a legit conversation if how over Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins really are. It's really close. It's extremely close. So right now, I think Cody Rhodes. I think Seth Rollins should have just a mammoth run with the championship until he reaches Gunther. I think Gunther should be the guy to dethrone him eventually. But for now, I say maybe towards the Royal, until the Royal Rumble, or even till Mania. I think that's where they should go.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all, and I do think that Gunther. I mean, I'm going to say this. I know he will break the Intercontinental title record. I believe it said he has 100 days left to break the record as of the day we are recording this, Tuesday. So, I mean, 100 more days, that's going to get us through the summer. I mean, it's inevitable. He's going to have a big money match with someone at SummerSlam for the IC title, and it's going to be a banger. Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a weird spot for Seth Rollins right now on Raw, because I do not want to see another Seth Rollins Brock Lesnar program, and it looks like Lesnar's going to be locked up with Cody for the foreseeable future. I hope
as well.
I hope. I do think it's going to be someone from the Judgment Day to challenge him next. I don't know who. I personally, I don't think it's going to be Finn, just because of, you saw them lock horns up again in the tournament. I think it's Damian Priest's time.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's his time to win the belt, but he's my Money in the Bank pick, and I just think that after the Bad Bunny match, they saw what they have in Damian Priest, what he was able to do. Bad Bunny can get all the praise he wants, but without Damian Priest out there, it's not happening. That's not happening, and it's only a matter of time till they strap a rocket to his back. And I know we say that about a lot of guys, but I just think it's inevitable at this point with Priest. He's almost 40, so
yeah,
the time's limited to do it. It really is. First few.
However, sorry to interrupt, but I'm hoping and praying, because I know he got tragic news recently, but Drew McIntyre making his return to challenge Rollins for world title at SummerSlam. I hope that is the case, and I would think, as of right now, if you take McIntyre out of the equation, I do think it's a Priest at Money in the Bank, Finn Balor at SummerSlam. I don't think you go wrong with that. And then there's two names I hadn't even mentioned. I hope, and listen, I love this tag team very, very much, but I absolutely want to see Tommaso Ciampa get a singles run. Yeah. Also, I don't know how much NXT you've watched, but Braun Breaker has gotten so much better. And I've been a fan since day one. But he is such a natural bad guy that I think he would terrorize Monday Night Raw. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I feel like outside of Cody and Seth, I think they do need a younger babyface. I think Shinsuke is like the number 3 behind them, but they need a younger guy in there, no matter if it's a heel or face. And I think he's gonna have a rocket strapped to him once he gets up there.
Yeah. And another name, I feel bad because he's a guy who's just going to be constantly lost in the cycle. I believe. I think you know who I'm going to say here, just kind of caught in the shuffle. But Ricochet, a Ricochet Seth Rollins match one time, man. Just I don't care if it's a filler feud for a pay-per-view just to extend the reign. I want to see that one time, man.
Oh yeah, I would love to.
But we talked Money in the Bank a little bit, and the logical story I think we all kind of saw coming for Money in the Bank was Cody Rhodes being in the Money in the Bank ladder match, winning the briefcase, moving himself back over to SmackDown, and challenging Roman Reigns for the title at SummerSlam. And I think that's the logical finish to this story. I do not want to see it dragged out all the way to Mania. I don't.
I don't. It's too long of a wait.
It is, and they should have pulled the trigger at 39. I mean, I think it's pretty apparent with how over Cody is right now that, I mean, they should have pulled the trigger. The woes are getting louder and louder every single week.
Yeah.
I have non-wrestling friends. I have friends who do not watch wrestling, do not know shit about wrestling. Somehow the Cody Rhodes woe videos are coming across their timelines on Twitter. And they're like, holy shit, man, this is wild.
Yeah.
And do I love how they're playing this Brock Lesnar feud? No, but it's been solid.
Yeah.
I don't know what the payoff here is other than to make Cody look like Captain America.
Pretty much.
That's my issue with it. And he cut a good promo on Raw last night. He did. In my opinion, it was a pretty solid promo where along the lines of, you know, a lot Brock Lesnar, you're the beast enough to break my arm, not man enough to tap me out, or whatever it was. Good line, but I feel like they're doing too much with this, man.
You know what's ironic about this? They're going down the route of your favorite wrestler, man.
I know.
They're going down that route.
I know.
They're going down the Cena route with him.
I know.
And listen, there was a reason why fans turned on John Cena. Like I don't want people to act like, yeah, I don't want people to act like, you know, that at some point you're just like, dude, this is kind of the same thing we're seeing with John Cena all the time. And here's the thing, WWE does have a lesson to learn here. Why? Because John Cena was still the guy. He was still the man. So it nothing really affected other than just people booing. Like, and let's be honest, people booing, is that going to change their mind? No, it absolutely won't. But it's almost as if there's no certain guys that beat Brock Lesnar and Brock Lesnar makes them look like $1 million, but it's also like kind of irritating when you think about it, because if I'm watching that Night of Champions match, I'm just like, why isn't Brock beating the absolute piss out of Cody Rhodes? I don't get it. It's just like the whole, like, listen, I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, how did he pass off a come on? You can pass off a pain. If this discussion, you're an idiot and you just hate WWE. Okay, I've seen it. But the whole thing with just like the kind of, they played the match better at Backlash. The ending was a little bit iffy, completely understand it, but they played it way better than they did back then. But I don't know, man. I don't know. And this is not, you know, it's not me, you know, being the Cody hater that I am. Like, I'm like, it's not coming from that place. I just don't see the angle and how anybody really wins. And this is crazy to say because, like, you know, it's Cody Rhodes. He's going to be over regardless. But like, is anyone going to win? Is anything going to make sense? Maybe in this Money in the Bank match, it'll make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I don't think anyone really wins.
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. I don't know if, I mean, I know he came out on Raw and said, I'll be here every night, regardless, with the broken arm out here fighting, ready for the open challenge to Brock, blah, blah, blah. What? I saw this floated out on Twitter, and I know you can never trust Twitter, and I know that there's no way he ever is able to get back into the ring. I saw a tweet saying that it's interesting seeing Triple H as involved on screen with Cody Rhodes as he's been the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't know why Brock took out Cody. It's still never been addressed. Someone floated out the idea that Triple H is hiring out Brock Lesnar to take out Cody. I mean, if you're listening to this far, you're pretty in touch with wrestling, and you know Cody Rhodes has made a lot of clear, deliberate shots at Triple H in the past while he was in AEW, while he was on the Indies. Will WWE kind of cross that line and pull that into storyline? Maybe Triple H brings back a little bit of an authority figure type of role. I know he can't get in the ring, but is that a possibility you think here?
It could be, and I
Yes,
think you're gonna.
I just think it's because it has not been addressed at all yet.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be some, like, let's just say that theory is a reality. I think you're going to start to see more hired guns to take out
Mhm.
Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
And here's the thing too. One thing that could tip off everybody was the fact that it was easy for Paul Heyman to get guys like Imperium involved, to
Mhm.
get Judgment Day involved. Who's
Yep.
to say he can't get Triple H involved in
Mhm.
something like this?
Yep.
And I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I think I'm past the whole authority figure thing with Triple H. I've seen it already. I just don't know where it can
Me
peak at this
too.
point.
And
Oh no, go ahead.
no, I don't think it's realistic. I also think with Triple H in charge, he does not want to insert himself into storylines very much.
Yeah,
And especially since he cannot get physical anymore
yeah.
in any capacity. But it's just a theory I saw floated out there. I don't know how they're gonna play this, which I mean, I guess that is a good thing that
Yeah.
we're tied 1-1 here. And I hate that WWE obviously extends feuds all the time to 3 matches almost by default.
Eh.
But I don't have any idea how this third match that's inevitably gonna happen is gonna go.
And here's the thing, and I'm going to say this now. If it's not an Extreme Rules Falls Count Anywhere hardcore match, keep it. I don't care.
I
If this feud
I
has so
can
much heat to it, I'm surprised they didn't do the hardcore match on Night of Champions. We're talking about a fight.
I
It should
thought it
be
was
unsanctioned.
I thought it was gonna be an unsanctioned match because of the cast. I really
Yeah.
thought it was going to be. And here's a thought I just had. Because I do think the more I think about this, we're gonna get the Bloodline either triple threat or fatal four-way at SummerSlam. Cody goes in the Money in the Bank, right? Brock goes radio silent. Cody wins Money in the Bank. Brock takes out Cody at Money in the Bank after he wins, F5s him, says, I want your briefcase. Me and you, SummerSlam for the briefcase.
Yeah.
And that's Brock's way to get back to Roman, which kind of ties a bow on that loose end of the storyline. Cody wins the match at that moment. Wherever pay-per-view Roman, you're next. And I think that's a nice way to kind of tie up a lot of different storylines.
You know what? Yeah. I mean, I'm down with that. I'm down. That like that. Listen, any way to keep Roman and Brock away, but if it's gonna tie in like that, that's perfect to me.
Yep. So I mentioned it, the fatal four-way between the Bloodline potentially at SummerSlam. Now that the cracks in the Bloodline are as wide as they have ever been. Tag team, I was not happy originally with the tag team title match main eventing, but with the way it went, I don't think there was really any other option.
Which is why it's important for wrestling fans to just let it play out.
Oh, I agree. I wasn't complaining.
Let it play out.
It just didn't make sense to me at the time, but you let Sami Zayn have his moment in Saudi Arabia. You have the huge payoff with Jimmy Uso finally being the one to snap on Roman. Jay, the facial expressions, I mean, as good as ever. I mean, I would not be surprised to see him have a future in Hollywood with how he's been playing this storyline out, man. It's been pretty fucking incredible. But the cracks are there. And I just love that it's still Sami Zayn being the one to keep bringing that gap wider and wider.
Before I get into it, I want people to understand something. And me and you acknowledge Roman Reigns, no pun intended. We acknowledge him as being, just the top dog in the
Our tribal chief.
Our tribal chief. And we are aware that he is the best thing in WWE going because he has a presence about every time he shows up.
Mm-hmm.
without Sami Zayn, the Bloodline story is not interesting at all. It's not that interesting.
Nope.
And it's just crazy to me how in such short time, not only has Sami Zayn become that sympathetic character, he's just becoming just a straight up favorite for everybody. And obviously in Saudi Arabia, he's going to be just, he's going to be lauded over there. Especially, and considering the circumstances, him not being able to go over there, like it was beautiful to see that whole thing. It's beautiful. But let me tell you, I'm shocked it was Jay. I wasn't Jay. I'm shocked. And the thing is, I feel like it also makes a lot of sense that it was Jimmy, because he was always the guy that was led by blind loyalty. What happened at the Rumble, what happened after the Rumble, and once he just saw things the way he saw them, he just like, nah, I'm not going for this. I'm not going for this. And I think the fact that he was led to do this, and it's hard to put in words. It really is, because what happened on Saturday was something that we've been waiting to see that for a very, very long time. And when it happened, you're just like, yeah. He had a series of matches with Jay. It's Jimmy's turn. It's Jimmy's turn to get that spotlight. And we know Solo is eventually going to get that spotlight. He's going to get that spotlight. But I think Jimmy getting that spotlight is going to make him so much more sympathetic of a character than Jay ever was. Because Jay was still like developing a character when he faced Roman. Jimmy is already established, and the fact that he's the one who pulled the trigger, it has a lot more juice to it than it was with Jay.
And it's crazy that we're here. It's at the point again. Is Jimmy or Jey Uso the man to end the reign and bring it full circle?
I mean, it's so interesting, because I feel as though, me personally, it doesn't matter if it was Jimmy, Jay, or Solo. If either one of them was the guy to dethrone Roman, I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it at all.
Me either.
I just know that they want Cody to be the guy to end that reign.
I know.
And it's going to get to a point, and here's the thing. I know, like, people have been talking about, is Cody Rhodes going to set himself to be booed at one point? He survived Cody Rhodes. He survived Sami Zayn in Canada. Is he going to survive Solo? Eventually Solo. Is he going to survive Jimmy too? I don't know, because I'm telling you now, what they did with Jey Uso when he was still developing his character in that feud with Roman, they made him in such a sympathetic character, and they got so much out of him. They called him main event Jey Uso for a reason. He was amazing that year. Is Jimmy going? I think Jimmy can do exactly that. And I know for a fact the same discussions we was having in February is going to come back up, whether he should be the one to end Roman's title reign.
Yep.
So I don't know.
I mean, it's the product's red hot again. It really is. I mean, WWE, they will hit their lows. But when it's time to start revving up for the big events, man, there is nothing like it.
And the thing is, I think with wrestling in general, because, Impact is about to reach a 1,000th episode, which is crazy to think about, considering everything that they've been through, and they basically just evaded bankruptcy. And I saw a lot of people, and I did, because Sunday I was watching NXT over Double or Nothing, because you know, but people said Double or Nothing was AEW's worst pay-per-view.
Worst show, yeah.
Now, am I going to expect that to always be the case? No, because AEW has its core of fans, and they deliver for their core fans. They know what the fans want, and that's why I will always respect them for that. But yeah, it's the even if things aren't the best in certain companies, it's always going to get better. There's always going to be some angle to make it better. So wrestling, if you're a wrestling fan, you're in a good place, and enjoy it. Stop fighting online.
Yeah.
Watch what you want to watch. Like what you want to like. Who cares?
Couldn't have said it better myself, Brandon. It's everyone always says wrestling's an art form, and guess what? Art is subjective, and it's all it comes down to, man.
Yep.
So it's gonna wrap up wrestling talk here. Wanted to briefly touch on NBA playoffs before we wrap up here. Nuggets have had themselves a nice little break, Brandon. I know took down your Lakers, but Jokic is the best player in the world.
I mean, Jokic is incredible, but just watching that series, I had one question. How did Jamal Murray keep making these damn shots? How did he do it? How did he do it? It was something that, because listen, Denver was the number one seed for a reason. Like they were the top team the entire season. I think everybody just ignored them number one because they felt like they're boring. They're in Denver. And Jokic is not a household name, even though he should.
Even though he's the best player in basketball.
Correct. But the Lakers were never supposed to be here. They had a rough beginning to the season. They had to dump players. I think this season is a success, but like, and I don't want to. And if there's one thing that I've hated, and I mean, this is even as a Laker fan, because I want to deviate from this very, very quickly. I don't want to make this about the Lakers, but I want to say one thing and one thing only. LeBron is mulling retirement because he needs one more guy. Because I'm gonna tell you something, Anthony Davis is not that guy, and he needs to stop thinking that he is that guy. He's not. He's too inconsistent, and that's not to say he's not. That's not to say he's not a good player, but he's too inconsistent. But since we talk about just inconsistency, that's why Boston is not in the finals. That's why they're not in the finals. And you would think. I thought after that game 6, which I was screaming in my girlfriend's house where the dog ran out the room, that they made that tip in. I said, there's no way in the world they lose game 7. And they looked like I forgot what year it was. I don't know, I think the 2018 Houston Rockets against the Warriors in that game 7 where they couldn't make a 3-pointer, and they kept jacking them up. It was so embarrassing to watch. And the thing is, congratulations to the Heat. An AFC getting that far is always impressive. I don't care what the circumstances may be.
Yep.
But boy, did the Celtics give them that win, man. They gave it to them because while the Heat played much better, I think they know they had them up against the ropes. I think the Celtics know they got lucky. But with the Heat, I don't expect them to get swept. But they better bring it against Denver.
Dude.
They better bring it.
I think that what Jokic is going to do to Bam will be studied for generations for war crimes in the future.
Yes.
It's going to be ugly.
It's going to get really, really ugly.
But speaking of just crazy stats, Jason Tatum, through his age 25 season, has lost in 4 Eastern Conference Finals.
Oof.
Celtics are kind of, I don't want to say they're at a crossroads, but they just can't seem to get over that hump. And you're at the point where you're going to need to pay Tatum. You're going to have to pay Brown. What are you going to do?
They are in a similar crossroads to one of the teams that they eliminated, which is Philadelphia. Philadelphia's peaked. Boston was just in the finals last season, so I don't know if they've exactly peaked. However, it's a question of what could they do? Who could they add to maybe put them over that hump? And and it's interesting because I feel Boston knows they have their two guys that can carry their organization, despite the fact that they didn't play too well. I think they're pillars. However, I don't know what's needed. I don't know what they need to get over that hump. But all I know is they're going to need to add somebody, and maybe that's the case for Philadelphia as well. In case if they want to keep James Harden, keep Joel Embiid around, they're in the same spot right now. They have to add somebody because clearly they've peaked, and with Milwaukee out the way, everyone expected Boston to be the team to come out the East.
Yep.
And even despite the fact they came back, from down 3-0, you still lost. No one's going to care. No one cares at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I do not know what's going to happen, but man, tough way to go out.
I mean, objectively, the funniest way the Celtics could have lost that series.
I mean, you battled back and you ran out of gas, and it's funny because right when the Heat ran out of gas 3-0, Celtics had to win the 3 games, get gassed, and that's what happened.
Yep. So with that in mind, Brandon, what are your finals predictions here?
Nuggets are gonna win. I'm just gonna get that the way. They're gonna win. I'm gonna go Nuggets in 5.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Gentleman sweep.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a sweep. I think fans will be very, very disappointed, but they're already disappointed because I think I went on this rant maybe like a year or two ago, but basketball fans don't like basketball. That's why they're gonna complain about a Jokic, Jimmy Butler NBA Finals. But look, I say this every year, and if people don't agree with me, kick rocks. I don't care. But teams, do people realize how hard it is to make the NBA Finals?
Nope.
They don't know. So the fact that that 8 seed is in the finals, a 1 seed is and that's where a 1 seed is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Listen, crazy things have happened. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility that he win this series. I think the Nuggets are going to win still, but just enjoy the basketball. You're going to sit there and complain and say LeBron's not in it, Giannis is not in it, Tatum's not in it, but this is what basketball is going to be in a couple of years. Yep. And because LeBron's not going to be around forever. And I think we know that now. Just enjoy the next generation of ball players, because this is what the reality is going to be going forward. Enjoy the games. You want to complain about it? Complain about it. You're still going to watch.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. But with that being said, we will be back next week, most likely, to touch base on all things baseball, basketball again. With that being said, thank you very much for making it this far. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the show, and we will see you next time.